Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with a roll call. Mrs. Sugars?
Mr. Goodwin,
Here.
Mrs. Judge,
Here.
Mrs. Matlack,
Here.
Mrs. Seidel,
Here.
Mrs. Scarpolino,
Here.
Mrs. Schultz,
Here.
Mr. Tomlinson,
Here.
Dr. Wong,
Here.
Dr. Dickinson.
Thank you. Now we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to now move for the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the regular action meeting dated December 19th and the special action meeting dated December 5th, and the executive session meetings on December 19th and December 5th, 2017. Ms. Matlack and Mrs. Scarpolino. And Mrs. Sugars, roll call.
Mrs. Judge,
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack,
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel,
Yes.
Mrs. Scarpolino,
Yes to all.
Mrs. Schultz,
I need to abstain from the special action meeting and the executive session dated December 5th. Yes to the rest.
Mr. Tomlinson,
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong,
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin.
Yes. Thank you. Next, we have some correspondence, and we're going to start off with Mrs. Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Very quickly, Mrs. Scarpolino and I on Saturday, last Saturday, January 20th, attended the second in a series of 3 labor relations programs hosted by New Jersey School Boards Association. We, the name of the session was Bargaining at the Table. We took a road trip to West Trenton. It was a great all-day session from 9 to 4. And most of what was covered in this session we discussed in our closed negotiation session committee meeting, but did want to let you know that we attended and represented the board at that session.
Thank you, Mrs. Seidel. Next, we have correspondence from both Mrs. Judge and Mrs. Matlack, and we can start off, Mrs. Judge.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. I just wanted to report out a couple of things. I attended with Mrs. Matlack the Purple Premier Classroom Gala at West last Thursday night. It was a wonderful evening to celebrate the joint venture with the kids at Cherry Hill West and Virtua Hospital. And the West Culinary Arts students provided the appetizers and did a fabulous job. Very professional. There was a purple carpet rolled out for everybody. It was a very well-attended event with the mayor, the chief of police, one of the captains, Captain Winters was there, along with the superintendent and several teachers, etc., and some town council people, Sarah Lipset, Brian Bowerly, Carol Roskoff, who also is a teacher, and she's the activities coordinator, right, at West. Okay, thank you for your assistance. It really was a true, it was a nice feather in our cap to show some of the new initiatives in the district, and it's something that we should be very proud of with the venture with Virtua. Although it's not Cooper, it's a nice, very, very nice thing.
We're open to
Yeah, I know. If I only had any pull. So then the next report is on Garden State Coalition of Schools. Our next meeting is tomorrow, January 24th in East Brunswick. This month's guest speaker is Judith Savage. She is the executive director of the New Jersey Council of Vocational and Technical Schools. And guests from the council, including vocational technical school superintendents from Morris and Somerset counties, will be in attendance. And as a reminder, the February Garden State Coalition of Schools meeting will be on February 21st here at 7 p.m. And the guest speaker for that meeting will be our own Lou Greenwald, Assemblyman for the state of New Jersey. So again, February 21st, 7 o'clock in this room. And I remembered this late this afternoon. This just happened, I think, yesterday, with the new governor and elected officials in the state Senate and Assembly. Pam Lampett has been named the chair of the Assembly Education Committee, and as a board member on Garden State Coalition of Schools, I've been invited to a meeting with Betsy Ginsburg, who's the executive director of Garden State, along with Jordan Schiff, who's the president of Garden State Coalition of Schools and also the superintendent of Hillsborough. We're going to meet with Pam Lampett on Thursday, March 8th. No kidding. So I just wanted to report that out, and I need to let Barry know. I will send him and you an email about that. And then my last little item of reporting is New Jersey School Boards has their every 8 week or so dinner this coming Thursday. It's for Camden and Gloucester counties, and it's going to be Ed Camp style at Valeris, Lakeside, and Sicklerville. And Mrs. Matlack and I are both attending that. If anyone is interested in signing up and carpooling, we're going. So you're more than welcome to join us. And that is it. Any questions? Seeing none, back to you, Mr. Goodwin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Judge. And now, Mrs. Matlack, I know we have she says she has a number of things for us. All right.
Well, I do, but Mrs. Judge talked about the Premier Classroom Close-Up Purple Carpet event at West, which I was going to report on. So that's like half of my page right here, so we're good. But it was a wonderful event, and I would just like to give a little shout-out to the West Science teacher, Sandra Castellani, who coordinates the academic portion at West, and Dr. Anne-Marie Palatnik, a former West parent who coordinates the hospital aspect through the nursing program for the students. We had the students from last year's class present to us at a board meeting in the spring last year. Some of those students were at the event as well. Just really great event, tremendous partnership with Virtua. I was pleased that we are able to continue this, and the students are just so excited and learning so much and having an incredible hands-on experience that just can't be matched in the classroom. So we're very fortunate that Virtua, is willing and happy to do this with us. Next, also on that same day, January 18th, I attended the District Cultural Proficiency Equity Character Education Committee meeting, which as I'm the board representative to that committee, and this month we had students from East and West attend our meeting and participate. They were incredibly insightful and gave great, thoughtful, considerate suggestions on the work that we've been doing on the 5-year plan and the goals that we are putting forward for the 5-year plan. And their input was tremendous. I believe they will be coming back again, maybe not to every meeting, but to some meetings in the future. And I think it's great to bring the student voice into that work. So I was pleased to see that, and it was a very productive meeting. Yesterday, I got to do something really, really fun. The board was all invited, and I had the opportunity to go over to Russell Knight for their Kindness Challenge Week Welcome Tunnel. And what they do is they have all the teachers, all the staff, and community members that they've invited stand outside and make a tunnel for the kids to walk through, and you cheer them on, you hold signs, say have a great day, signs that say smile, kindness matters. It was just such a wonderful event, for 20 minutes. Standing out there and having the kids come in. Some of them are so excited to see everybody there, and they run through doing high fives to everybody. And some of them are a little intimidated that there's all these adults standing there as they have to go into school. But they all, end up smiling, and just a great event, a great kickoff to their Kindness Week challenge. So they gave out to all the community members who came to help them, they gave out little bags of Hershey Kisses with a little thank you. Says your kindness is so sweet, thank you. So I passed that out to the board tonight for that. And then Mrs. Judge talked about the Camden County School Board meeting on Thursday. As Vice President on the Camden County School Boards Association, I, of course, will be going, and Mrs. Judge will be going as well, and we'd be happy to have any other board members. It's not too late to register. You know, they are doing something new. She mentioned the Ed Camp. So we'll see how that goes. They've never done that before, so we'll report back and let you know how that goes. That's it.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Matlack. Next, we are going to have our student rep reports, and I think we'll start off with Carly at West. Oh, presentation. Oh, okay. I missed the presentation. And then we'll come back to this. Next, we have a presentation, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Malash for that.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. I appreciate it. I'm very excited to welcome some folks here this evening to talk about a very special event that's coming up in just a little less than 2 weeks. On February 3rd, Still Climbing, a celebration of Black History Month, is going to be produced over in the auditorium at High School West, and it's going to be more than just a stage production. There's going to be vendors, there's going to be activities that are going on. So I'm very excited to welcome Mrs. Holliday and Ms. Giles, who are the student advocates from High School East and High School West, and Ms. Kathleen Jenkins, who's from Cherry Hill African American Civic Association. So folks, if you would come up to the microphone, I know you have some great information to share. We're very excited to hear about it.
Good evening, everyone. Before we begin our presentation, I know Ms. Matlack just talked about our cultural proficiency and character ed workshop that we have. I just wanted to shout out one of our students, that Gay Brown, that she sits on the committee as a representation of West. She gives great insight for the committee. Her examples and ideas were spot on, dealing with race, ethnicity, and culture, and equity and equality. So excellent job, Gay. On to the overview. Still Climbing, a celebration of Black history. The performances that will be given are driven by a historical time frame from 1619 to present day. The following schools will be presenting as groups throughout the presentation: Carusi Jazz Band, Stay Tuned, which is a band from Cherry Hill High School East, Fermata, the female singing group from Cherry Hill High School West, and one of our teachers, he teaches at East and West, he teaches Applied Tech, Mr. Cecil Leonard will be teaching or is having his band there as well.
Hi, good evening. So individual student performances will going to be represented by the following schools: Cherry Hill West, Cherry Hill East, Kilmer, Rosa, Beck, Cooper, and Kingston.
And also, we're going to be honoring Arthur Lewis, who is a trailblazer. He was a former DEA agent, and as well as a former school board member here in Cherry Hill. The DEA agency from Philadelphia will also come, and they're going to ask our students to make a drug-free pledge as well.
As a very brief preview to the show that's going to occur next Saturday, we have one of our West students here, Mr. Milan Tolliver. If you join us at the mic, he's a 10th grade student. At West, he's involved in the African American Culture Club and the vocal workshop. He is going to do a small snippet of his presentation during the show. If you'd like more, come to the show.
You can taste the dishonesty, it's all over your breath. And as you pass it off so cleverly, even that's a test, constantly aware of it all. My lonely ear pressed against the walls of your words, I prayed, can't you whisper in? Sorry, I'm nervous.
Thank you.
Ms. Giles, Ash, 2 p.m.? What time does it begin on the 3rd?
It begins at 2 p.m. Yes,
2 p.m.
2 to 6 p.m. Tickets are $5 at the door. We encourage families to come out, the community to come out to celebrate this event. As Dr. Malash said, we'll have vendors there as well, a DJ afterwards for an after party. So we're going to make this an all-day family event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate y'all coming out.
Yes, thank you very much, definitely looking forward to that. And now we're going to turn it over to our student reps for a report. And we'll start with West and Carly.
Good evening, Dr. Malash, Mr. Goodwin, and board members. It is with great pleasure that I am officially reporting ongoing events from the first month of 2018. Concluding the quiet hiatus of winter break, over 200 West DECA members competed in the Southern Gold Regional Conference on January 8th at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Though things got a little hectic with the threats of an ice storm on the way, causing the cancellation of the award ceremony, results soon appeared the following Wednesday. Over 70 West students qualified for the state's competition based on test and role play scores alone. These state qualifiers will head to Atlantic City at the end of February to compete against more New Jersey schools for a spot in the national competition. As for theater, Phantom of the Opera auditions have concluded and rehearsals have officially begun. The play is set to hold opening night on March 16th. And as you already heard, last Thursday, West hosted a purple carpet gala to honor the special partnership with the Virtual Hospital. Throughout the night, attendees were given an insight of the unique and exciting opportunities that West students are given on a daily basis. Presentations were given to summarize that not only does this partnership allow the students to experience first-hand situations with real-life medical practitioners and patients, but it also permits them to get a head start on their career goals. Of course, it wouldn't be an official report without sports, and I'm proud to announce that West Wrestling has been doing exceptionally well with an undefeated record so far. The bowling team is also having a phenomenal season with a record of 8 wins and only 1 loss. 9th grade health classes welcomed peer leaders into their class during the second week of January. Peer leaders gave a mini lesson on the importance of listening. Several hands-on activities taught the significance of listening and how it pertains to everyday tasks, including work, school, and life in general. And as for upcoming events, tomorrow night, West will be hosting its annual 8th grade visitation night to offer prospective students an insight of West. 8th graders and parents will be offered tours by current West students to give them a feel for the school, along with answering any questions and concerns they may have. And to conclude, this Friday marks the end of the second marking period, officially taking us into the second half of the school year. Thank you.
Esteemed members of the board, thank you for having me back once again to share more about current happenings at Cherry Hill High School East. We are approximately 3 weeks into the new year, yet even in that short amount of time, quite a bit of activity has occurred. The freshman class held their first dance at East on the first Friday of the month. Many students came out for a night of dancing and fun. East DECA, a business organization, attended its regional competition early in the month, hosted at the Crown Plaza Hotel, as you already heard. It was forced to end early as a result of incoming ice storms, but we heard results back on that, and students from both East and West did very well and will be attending the State Career Development Conference at Harrah's in Atlantic City. In honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, East held its first Unity Day festivities. For the students that attended, they had a meal, discussion, and they visited the McCourt Shalom Synagogue, where the synagogue choir performed side by side with a church choir. We look forward to the continuation of this and other traditions during the coming years. On the 10th, the East Vocal Department held its winter concert. Not the spring yet, despite how the weather is. Featuring the wide array of ensembles that spend so much time and energy perfecting their art, they also hosted students from Beck and Rosa for a day. East students engaged them in workshops and performance before they returned home. The instrumental groups are also busy preparing for a number of upcoming events. For students in pit orchestra, the spring show marks the debut of their current set. For the wider group, festival season is fast approaching, and although there is still ample time for practice, they are looking forward to giving a stellar performance. East Drama is several weeks into their preparations for the spring show, The Music Man. As part of this, they have brought in about 20 young children, composed of students in the district and the relatives of students and teachers at the school. I'd like to commend the drama department for making this sort of outreach a part of the performance that they're putting on. The drama department also held their annual coffee house fundraiser last Saturday. This year's show benefited the Lupus Foundation of America. Several members of the Thespian Society have personal connections to the disease, and we're very happy to see that many people turned out to support the cause. Acts ranged from vocalists to comedians to rock music to the recitation of 500 digits of pi, which deserved and got a standing ovation, and a slam poem recited by yours truly. I was personally moved by the sheer number of talented individuals who presented and would describe it as a wonderful cross-section of the performing arts program at the school, and to show up next year if you didn't come this year. Winter sports have also had a strong showing. Both boys and girls swimming have had a very strong seasons thus far, with the girls having only taken one loss and boys having gone undefeated thus far. Boys basketball has also had many impressive wins this season. Girls basketball is a little behind in terms of wins, but is still performing very well, and winter track has attended a number of meets, with members taking top places at several competitions thus far. Something I also wanted to bring up, at the urging of many others and as a result of my own views, is the January 5th 2-hour delay situation. I'm personally of the opinion that the conditions on the roads, sidewalks, and in the parking lot of the school warranted a cancellation, although I understand there are consequences in making that decision. Sorry. However, what's happened has already happened. Instead, I'd like to implore the district to be more transparent in the making of these specific decisions instead of just on the process as a whole. Although this opens up the process to public scrutiny, it prevents cases in which the final decision can be questioned solely on the basis of the lack of evidence to back up its validity. I also ask that, if at all possible, the district attempt to make the decision the night before instead of the morning of, although in that case it was made the night before. Although I do understand that part of the decision rests on the conditions of the grounds by a certain point in the early morning, that factor is reliant on others that can be gauged earlier along in the timeline. For teachers who live far away and parents unsure of how to accommodate the possibility of a cancellation, having time to plan is crucial. On the other hand, I'd like to apologize on the behalf of the students that used anger at the decision as an opportunity to post threats, slurs, and irrelevant content on the district's digital platforms. Events like these deserve respectful discussion. Thanks for giving me the time to speak. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Josh. Next is our opportunity for public discussion. And at this point in time, you can comment on items that are on the agenda. We have our first public comment session, I should say. There will be another public comment session following the agenda, where you can speak on anything you like. If you'd like to speak now, please identify the agenda item you're speaking to. Speak into the microphone clearly, state your name and address. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer light will be green at the beginning of the 3 minutes. The timer will turn yellow at when there's 30 seconds left. When the timer is red, your time is up. Please conclude your comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak on any of the agenda items? That's not on the agenda. In the meantime, is there anyone else that would like to speak on any agenda items?
So I can make comment on R7441, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Hello, good evening. My name is Rick Short, S-H-O-R-T. I live at 1002 Chelton Parkway. I do see that the actual entire program kicked off on November 17th, if I'm correct. Just a little bit of clarity on it. So technically speaking, you guys didn't really have it, the policy in place before it actually kicked off, so no big deal. But just want to note that on the record. Also, when you talk about the different people within that are allowed to view the camera recordings, I think the board should open itself up. You know, there's section in the Senate. It's the Senate number 742 of the bill. It falls under PL 2017, Chapter 119, where it states that right now you're deciding who gets to actually view the videos. Now, I understand I don't know, and at the end I won't have privy of actually who is able to view it in real time, but hopefully I know the police can view it. Second, I would assume the fire department can view it, you would think, but I don't know. Again, I'm not with you guys because you're going to be making these decisions privately. I'd also encourage you to allow the teachers to be able to view these live streams and go back in time. I know Dr. Malash can pull up the Barclay Center right now. I think he mentioned it was 40 cameras. That's a great thing. Also, and I think because I know school board member Ruth has said in the past, think outside the box, guys. I mean, there's no reason why even a janitor shouldn't be able to look at it during working hours. So whoever's telling you who can see it, please think outside the box. Don't be just like, oh, it can only be the police and it can only be a principal. Please consider that it can be a teacher. During the day, if there was a bully incident or if a child came in and was crying for some reason and the teacher went up and asked the student, said, what's going on? And the student would say, well, maybe not, I want to talk about it. Well, maybe the teacher could go back in time and see if anything happened in the hallway. So I would really encourage you to at least allow the teachers and even consider the janitors. I mean, the janitors are in this town are kind of like the postman. They know everything that's going on. So please consider these things in private when you make the final decision on who can view these in real time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. If not, we're going to go ahead and go into our action. Oh, superintendent comments. We'll take this moment for the superintendent comments.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. So and thank you to the kids for talking about what's going on in the schools. And we are just about halfway through the academic year, right? So the second marking period ends at the high schools on Friday. We are just about halfway done, which means that, as we always talk about after the first of the year, the speed just picks up in terms of activities and things going on academically, extracurricularly, athletically. It's a very exciting time for our kids. In a lot of ways, it can be a stressful time as well, especially for some of our seniors as they start to hear back from colleges and start to narrow down their choices about what it is that they would like to do in September of 2018. If you had not had the chance to get out and see some of our winter sports, please make sure that you do that. I've had the opportunity to see a number of our teams compete. And one of the great things is not just the athletic performance that we see on the courts or on the wrestling mat or in the pool, but it's honestly the way that the students interact with one another and their teammates and the coaches and with the people against whom they are competing. And there's a huge piece that goes into about behavior and character and the character of our kids and what we expect of everyone as they go out there and represent our schools and wear the names of our schools across their chests or on their swim caps or whatever it is. Mrs. Judge and Mrs. Matlack talked about the Kindness Challenge, the program over at Russell Knight yesterday morning. Many of the schools throughout the district are participating in the Kindness Challenge this week. When I was at Rosa today, I had the opportunity to speak with a group of students. We talked about it there, and one of the great things, because it is a structured week of activities, and there are challenges each day about being kind, and the kids dress up, and it was Crazy Hair Day at Woodcrest today, and it was Pajama Day about dreaming about kindness at Bret Hart. It really gives us an opportunity to focus on and to talk about being kind. How do we interact with one another? How do we speak? And it's great that the kids are talking about it, but I encourage everybody, especially the adults, to talk about it. kindness needs to be a priority for all of us. When we send out the newsletter every week, and I do a letter that goes out to the community, one of the things that I try to include every week is about being kind and sharing a kind word and a smile. Some of the challenges that our kids deal with just before they arrive to school, honestly, it's by the grace of God that they're in school on a daily basis. But the difference that it makes is they smile at the adults or their peers or the other kids who are there is absolutely tremendous. As adults, we can remember that. And as the kids are being challenged in schools, I challenge all of you as the adults to make sure you smile and to talk to people with whom you come in contact with, not just in our schools, but in our neighborhoods. One of the great things is, as I go out, and I was at a home this morning, I go out and do home visits to new families in the community. And by and large, and you talk to these families about why did you come to Cherry Hill and why did you pick this town, it's because of the school system. And we're thrilled that people come here because of the schools. But people stay here because of what the community is, right? There are more folks that live in Cherry Hill that don't have kids in our schools than do, and they stay here for a very specific reason. It's because of the neighborhoods and it's because of the community feel. All of us can add something to that. When you see people outside, say hello, speak to them, smile to them. Doesn't matter if they're neighbors that you've met or neighbors that you've never seen before or somebody that's walking into 7-Eleven or into CVS. We can all show that and represent that for our kids. I'm very excited that we've started our trainings this week with our staff with the Character Ed, Culture Proficiency, and Equity Conversations. It was a fantastic conversation that took place in here yesterday with elementary principals and folks from each one of the elementary schools. Great discussion going through. And as I told the folks that were gathered together, and Dr. Chapman's here with us tonight, he's one of the chairs of the committee, as I told the folks, it's the most important work that we do. This is what kids are going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. We expect them to learn math and language arts and world languages and all those other pieces, and they do. And we know that. We're incredibly academically successful with our kids. But these are the lessons that they're going to carry with them about who they are as people and how they represent us and how they represent their families. So all of you, as the adults and the folks that are here, carry that kindness on. Remember those words and remember the impact that you can have.
Thank you, Dr. Malash. Appreciate that. And now we're going to move on to our action agenda, and we're going to start off with Mrs. Seidel to move the curriculum and instruction.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Number 1, approval of attendance at conferences and workshops for the 2017-2018 school year. Number 2, approval of out-of-district student placements for the 2017-2018 school year. And number 3, approval of extended school year program, also known as ESY, for 2018. Do I have a second? Mrs. Judge, any comments or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Goodwin. Mrs. Sugars, sorry.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes. And now I will move the BNF agenda items. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 1, financial reports; 2, resolution of awards of the award of bids; 3, resolution of the award of transportation; and 4, acceptance of donations. Do I have a second? Oh. Is this additional? There is one additional item along with that goes along with item number 3, and one additional donation on the back. Okay. Do I have a second, Mrs. Judge? Are there any questions? If not, Mrs. Sugars.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Judge?
I need to abstain to Cooper Health System on the bill list. Yes to the remainder.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel?
Abstaining with respect to CDW on the bill list. Yes to the rest.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Schultz?
I need to abstain from Beata Home Health on the bill list. Yes to the rest.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Abstaining from Bancroft NeuroHealth on the bill list. Yes to the remainder.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. HR. Mrs. Judge, will you move the HR agenda?
Yes, I will, Mr. Goodwin. Thank you. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. Number 1, termination of employment certificated. Number 2, termination of employment non-certificated. Number 3, appointment certificated. Number 4, appointments non-certificated. Number 5, leaves of absence certificated. Number 6, leaves of absence non-certificated. Number 7, excuse me. Number 7, assignment salary change certificated. Number 8, assignment salary change non-certificated. Number 9, other compensations certificated. Number 10, other motions. And I do want to point out we have a pink sheet with an additional item to number 3. Do I have a second? Mrs. Seidel. Any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Scarpellino?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong?
Abstaining to item 3, appointments certificated with regard to Rowan University and also Rutgers University. Thank you. Yes to the rest.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Malash.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. I'm very pleased that you just acted on making Bernie O'Connor the principal at Beck Middle School into the permanent position. So, Mr. O'Connor, could you walk up to the microphone, please? I was pleased to bring Mr. O'Connor forward in September to become the interim principal. The interim. I always go back for the interim and acting. I like to make sure that Miss Adrian tells me. As the interim principal at Beck Middle School. During the course of the last 3.5 months, Mr. O'Connor has spent at Beck as he established it as a home for himself. I had the opportunity to meet with students and with staff, with parents and with community members who are thrilled on the impact that Mr. O'Connor has had on the Beck community. So I'm very excited that we're taking that interim title away and that he, from this day forward, from tomorrow forward, will be the principal at Beck Middle School. As many of you remember when we talked in September, Bernie's been in the district for a number of years. He has spent the last 9 years at High School East as an assistant principal. Prior to that, he taught history at High School West. He taught AP Economics, taught American history, taught World Civ, been a football coach and a basketball coach. Bernie has dedicated the majority of his professional career and education to the Cherry Hill School District. So I'm very excited. Bernie O'Connor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malash. To the Board of Education members, thank you very much for this opportunity. Really looking forward to, as we move forward, as Dr. Malash said, 22 years. This is my 22nd year working for the Cherry Hill Township Public Schools, and this opportunity is just one I've been really looking forward to, really excited about. The 4 months that I've been at Beck Middle School have been just a joy, enjoying the kids, enjoying the staff members, and I want to thank you all for that opportunity. To Mr. Carter, to Dr. Mahan, to Ms. Wethington, Ms. Adrian, and to Mr. Saporito, I want to thank you all for your assistance in everything that has gone on and helping me through on the way here. You know, Tom Carter and I communicate quite often, and one of the things, you know, when I was at High School East, one of my responsibilities was the facilities. I used to call Tom and tell him, yes, Tom, I'm calling from the most important school in the district. Well, I still make those phone calls, except it's a different school now. Dr. Campisi, I want to thank you very much for your support over the last 4 months. Truly appreciated. And Dr. Malash, for the trust that you've put in me, for the guidance that you've given me for the 15 years that we've known one another. I want to thank you very much for that. And I'm really looking forward and very excited about this next step in my career here at Cherry Hill Public Schools. Thank you very much.
Congratulations again. And moving on, we have our policy and legislation agenda items, and I'd like to ask Mrs. Scarpolino to move those for us.
Certainly, Mr. Goodwin. Before I do so, I just want to note that on item number 3, there is a change to the agenda. For the incident report number 4003, the determination was changed from affirmative to reverse for that particular number. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Number 1, second reading of policies. Number 2, first reading of policy. Number 3, approval of harassment, intimidation, bullying, investigation decisions. Do I have a second? Mrs. Seidel. Any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes.
Mrs. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes. We don't have any strategic planning items today. So those are all our agenda items. So now it's time for our second public discussion. This is the section. In the second public discussion, you can discuss any item you like. If you'd like to speak, please speak into the microphone clearly and state your name and address. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer light will be green at the beginning of the 3 minutes. The timer will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds left, and the timer will turn red when your time is up, and we ask that you conclude your comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak on any items? You can step up to the microphone and state your name and address.
Good evening. Good evening, it's Rick Short again, 1002 Chelton Parkway. I would say some good things, but I only have 3 minutes to speak. Trust me on that, I could say a lot of good things about the board. First off, if you haven't heard, great news. On December 5th, I just discovered that we have $12 million in our capital reserves. I'm suggesting immediately that we take, in this year's budget in June, 1.1 million, which would be about 600 to 700. These are just ballpark numbers, folks. Don't hold me to the exact dollar. To fully do the remaining 16 schools out there. You know, I wish I had 2 outside independent consultants here from out, because what I'm about to tell you, I've studied more and more and more. And let's just start with one fact. I'm holding baloney right here. Okay? This is baloney. I can prove it, right? I can also prove that right now, this second, that the school board's maintenance yard has more cameras than my school where my children go. This is absurd. Totally absurd. And there's other things, the more you think about it, there's other weaknesses that I can't even tell you because I would actually put people at risk. Now, you know, some people call me an alarmist, and sure you can, but look at the police report right there. If that same event occurred that event occurred, it was a possible pedophile. if that occurred at a Cherry Hill High School or Cherry Hill at one of our 16 schools, you would have no proof of anything. You would have no businesses in the area. You'd have no cameras. You would have no nothing. Just the other day, up in Upper Pottstown, a student brought a grenade to school. I mean, this is only 46 miles away. And I also thinks about things like, well, my children get on the bus. Yes, they know they got on the bus, but when they get off, there's no cameras to follow them. It's completely absurd that this board will not spend earlier $1.1 million and not wait until 2020 to actually do it. And if anyone tells you that they can't do it, they're just selling you baloney, people, because you can add on anything you want in the security system. And that's all I really got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Any other comments?
Can I have a question? It's somewhat related to policy, but I don't know whether
Sure.
it's allowed or not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's just some members of the community told me that PTAs are very active and they raise funds, and they use the fund to buy some computers and other equipment to the schools. But now they told me, they said that there's new policy. Those equipments are properties of the district. So therefore, the district would have the right to transfer those computers, say, from one school to another. So some of the parents are not very happy about that, and I don't know whether that policy is actually true or not. But I just want to, raise it here. Thank you.
So anything that's donated to the school, right? That's you guys just acted on donations. So when donations are made to the school, they become the property of the district. I've been in contact with a number of parents at one of the elementary schools who had some questions. I think there was a misunderstanding between a conversation that took place at a meeting one evening. There have been times when we have moved equipment from school to school, depending upon specific need. But I believe that the issue to which you're referring has been addressed. If you go back through the PTA, they may be able to have additional information for you. Yes, anything that you as a Board of Education act upon to receive as a donation becomes the property of the school district.
Okay, going back to any other public comments? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mrs. Judge and Mrs. Scarpolino. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening.